gravel-seated smash from Egan Bernal, but who even won this stage? Remco Evenepoel imagining crosswinds that don't exist in Italy, Ineos smash, and Joao Almeida. Well, we all remember the Almeida Evenepoel drama in 2021. This is a Giro stage 9 to Campo Felice, a gravel finish, 5.9 Ks, 5.7%, irregular climb with a gravel finish, a little bit rainy, up and down, very similar this parkour to a lot of the Vuelta parkour this year. Go and check out the Lantern Rouge Cycling podcast for our Vuelta Espana preview and coverage throughout the 3 weeks of the race. Bernal's back in Denmark. That's what prompted me to go into the archives and find his first ever Grand Tour stage victory. But a big break was up the road. Had Bouchard, Simon Kerr, but remember this Mohoric crash. He crashed on his head, maybe too much front brake on this descent, and he walked away almost unscathed. He had to abandon the race. I'm not sure if the bike was destroyed. Super scary crash. And you look at this image, and then you see next year in Milano San Remo, he's going full threat of death on the descent with the drop of seat post. He is obviously knows like to win races, he needs to push the limits. He nearly crashed multiple times on the San Remo descent. But yeah, just crazy how narrowly avoids maybe a life-changing crash the year before and still pushing. That's why a lot of pro cyclists are built different. But yeah, this breakaway, Bouchard, as I said, number 13 for AG2R Citroën, George Bennett, Storer, Kern Bowman, I think Bauke Mollema was in here too. Big break, and it's a good breakaway stage where, 5K, 6%. You're not going to win the Giro d'Italia on that sort of finish. Could Volta hang on? He was in the pink jersey, remember, after I think stage 4. Evenepoel was here for Quickstep with Almeida, Formolo for UAE. Kind of a nice finish for him. And it was interesting seeing Storer, because obviously then in the Vuelta later that year, he was flying, and Ineos. Kit's coming off, boys. Time to get down to business. We need to catch this breakaway. Eganito wants his first Grand Tour stage victory. Bouchard went clear with Carr. Carr was good on the Cortina d'Ampezzo stage. And Evenepoel, in the white jersey, rushed into the Giro with what I think was not ideal preparation. Had Joao Almeida on his team. Tratnik started pacing the group. Don't really know why. For Caruso, maybe, but doesn't really suit Caruso. 20 Ks to go, but Ineos is starting to get really serious. They got Narvaez drilling it. Ganna was gone at this point. And then randomly, through this sort of gentle descent, Evenepoel starts pushing on the front. Maybe a little bit of inexperience because there's never any crosswinds in the Giro. Maybe imagining it, or he's trying to stay in front position. I don't really understand it. Looking back on it, some weird stuff in that first week. It'll be interesting to see how Quickstep and Remco play this Vuelta in the first week, where they'll be aggressive. And yeah, I don't know what they were really trying to do at this point, trying to split it. Maybe because Ineos were out of position and behind. Ineos were probably thinking, I don't know what you guys are doing as Seri comes forward and starts drilling it. I mean, I can see Egan Bernal mid-pack and Almeida's sort of floating there a bit curiously as well. Eventually they relent and it goes 5 across again with Alberson and maybe Jos van Emden on the front. Bouchard goes clear before the final climb. Storer, Bowman chasing. Bowman would eventually get across, and Volta was already having issues on the pacing, I think, of Narvaez before Castroviejo on these rolling climbs. And just to remind you of who was in this Giro d'Italia in 2021, we had Simon Yates for Bike Exchange eventually finish on the podium. Damiano Caruso, the surprise second place. Hindley, Roman Bardet, Vlasov when he was still on Astana, Dan Martin, and obviously Evenepoel and Almeida. And remember, Almeida lost that time early on, I can't remember what stage it was, 4 minutes or something, and then finished the Giro really, really well. And Ineos wanted to take as much time as possible with Bernal in this week one. Bowman set off after Bouchard, and then there was this tunnel. There's no footage of the GC group in the tunnel, and Evenepoel said after the race that I think an Ineos rider nearly clipped Bernal's back wheel, and so he lost positions in the tunnel because he entered the tunnel in reasonably good position, and to be honest, he exited the tunnel in reasonably salvageable position too. And here we see the footage. Bouchard comes out. We're coming up to Campo Felice. It's about to turn into gravel. The road is gradually worsening in condition, and it's Castro pushing hard with Gianni Moscon just behind him. We see Evenepoel in the white jersey behind Simon Yates and Schultz. Almeida's on the Ineos train though. So Evenepoel's obviously been either shuffled off or lost the wheel of Almeida. Almeida was in beautiful position on Bernal's wheel, right where he needed to be. Bouchard hits the gravel. Bowman's chasing. As you can see, it's irregular. Steep sections here, really steep. And whereas when Moscon is pacing now is super fast, they're going over 40 k's an hour before hitting that little rise. And you see where Evenepoel is. Horrendous position. Almeida in magic position, and Bernal, his race savvy. We saw him in Strada Bianca. Was it this year in 2021 when he was there with Alaphilippe and MVDP? Just magic in positioning, these punchy climbs, gravel climbs. It's what he's sort of best at, to be honest. And if you start the climb in this position on Moscon's wheel pacing, there's only so much that can go wrong. Ciccone was on his wheel. Bowman catches up to Bouchard, and it's hard to move up on the gravel on these steeper sections. You got people wiggling in front of you. Moscon driving a really hard pace. Almeida's on the radio. Maybe he's responding or asking, where the hell is Remco Evenepoel, who he was dutifully riding as a domestique for at this point in the race, but he was about 12, 15 wheels deep and didn't or couldn't move up. Dan Martin would try and move up. You see when the camera angle changes, Martin starts moving up on the right-hand side. He lost time, I think, a fair bit of time on the Montalcino stage, but his stage win in this Giro was incredibly good, and that was almost the last opportunity to move up. 900 meters to go. Ineos had played it perfectly, spending Puccio, then Narvaez, then Castroviejo, finally Moscon into the last 700 or so meters before Vlasov attacks on the left-hand side. Vlasov, incredibly good, punchy rider. Almeida's looking across once again. Caruso, Formolo's got a great pain face on. Chiccone's looking at Almeida, I think, and then just goes to Egan Bernal's wheel, whilst Bowman nearly gets taken out by the motorbike. They don't really know the remnants of the break ahead before Bernal attacks. Seated attack in the small ring, gets onto a flatter section, slaps it in the big ring, and off he goes on this sort of false flat gravel part of the Campo Felice finish, and he is absolutely flying. Big gap. He's put about 50, 75 meters into Simon Yates, Evenepoel, Carthy group. Ciccone is holding his wheel for a bit and then loses touch here on this last little kicker with about, I think, still 350, 400 meters to go. But yeah, Bernal, remember, Tour de France 2019, he didn't get credited with the win for that cancelled Col d'Isère stage. There was no winner of that stage. He got credited with the time gap, I think, at the top of Col d'Isère. And so he was yet to win a Grand Tour stage up to this point. And I think at this point, he didn't know if Koen Bowman and Bouchard were the last remnants of the breakaway. He was just pushing for GC time gaps, of which he'd get, with the bonus seconds, a reasonable amount, 7 seconds or so on the road to Ciccone. But this reminds me a lot of the Vuelta stages this year. I'm not expecting huge gaps on these sort of similar medium mountain stages. And you see the group behind it looks like it's big gaps, but eventually across the line, it only is going to be about 7 to 10 seconds to those guys. But it was more, but this Giro was kind of tight to the end. And so with Egan Bernal maybe struggling on the stage 20 when Caruso went on that raid with Romain Bardet, every second did count, and he was the strongest rider in week 1 of the Giro d'Italia. He's back after his terrible accident earlier this year, and I hope we can see him again on the top step. He's looking good in Denmark already. His numbers in training look good, and this was a huge win for him on Campo Felice to Rocca de Cambio, taking 7 seconds on Ciccone, Vlasov, Evenepoel losing time in the white jersey, and Egan Bernal taking the Maglia Rosa. What do you think from Egan Bernal? Is he going to do the Italian Classics after Denmark? That would kind of make sense. Denmark's just, he's riding as a domestique on the front at the moment. It's just like a flat sort of race. How will he go in the Italian Classics? Can't wait to see him at something like Tre Valle Varesine or Emilia. But here, you see, did I win? Who won? And then it comes through the radio, bang, vamos, let's go. He finds out he's won not just the stage, but he takes the Maglia Rosa as well. Thanks Gianni Moscon for his work, but an all-round great team performance from the Ineos Grenadiers, winning ahead of Ciccone, Vlasov, Evenepoel, Martin, Caruso, Bardet, Soler, Dani Martinez, who'd end up coming 5th, and Joao Almeida pops the Astoria. And then obviously in this edition of the Giro d'Italia, Bernal won the Cortina d'Ampezzo rain-affected stage as well, but he'd take the Maglia Rosa here. He wanted to win in the Maglia Rosa there. Go and check out that video on this channel as well if you haven't seen it. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I love doing these archive throwback videos. They're a lot of work, takes a while to procure the rights, etc., but it's worth it when I do. So I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you check out the Vuelta preview on the Lantern Rouge Cycling Podcast. If you're a cycling fan, you will really enjoy it. Trust me on that. And I'll see you with Roglic, Milano, Torino, maybe this week. Till then, ciao.